You say there's nothing geographically? I say you need to seriously update yourself. Number 1. Situated less than 1 degree from due east of Nehem. This is the real Nehem in the Saudi Arabian desert. Khor Karfat easily meets Nephi's statement that it was nearly eastward. The second thing, Wadi Saik, which leads from the interior to the ocean, is the only wadi system on this coastline that flows from the high desert plateau eastward toward the coast. All other flows from north to south. A caravan could reach the coast from the interior either by traveling through the bottom of the wadi itself or by following the flat-topped ridge on the south side of the wadi to the abrupt end above the seashore. Descending from that point to the beach would be feasible, but it would be difficult. But it is certainly reachable from the interior desert. The third thing, Khor Karfat is the most fertile of the naturally fertile sites on the southern coast, and this fertility would be noticed by travelers from the interior as far as 2 miles inland from the beach. The seasonal monsoon rains that cause this fertility stack up on the beach against the coastal mountains and penetrate only a short distance up the wadi valleys. A vegetation boundary is visible on the sides of the wadi where these rains reach each year. The fourth issue, Khor Karfat's suitability for a long-term encampment and for launching a ship is apparent in the clear evidence that it was used as a small seaport during the Islamic period. Climatic change has since dried up the river, allowing the beach to close off the small port completely. Fresh water from springs still accumulates behind the beach in a pond, which is all that now remains of the earlier port facility. The fifth point, anciently, this part of Oman was heavily forested, and numerous sizable trees exist at Khor Karfat. I have pictures of those trees. I will show you the photos, if you think I'm kidding. Remains of significant trees from recent centuries are still visible on the plateau above, although goats and drought have long since eliminated the ancient forests. These forests provided the ancient Omani with lumber to build the fleets of stone boats that earned them the recognition as the Phoenicians of the Indian Ocean. You didn't know that, did you? The Arabians, the desert people, were the Phoenicians of the Indian Ocean because they had that shipping industry. Using these vessels, the Omani have maintained trade between Mesopotamia, Africa, India, and even China over most of a 5,000-year period. The sixth thing, although the gradual desiccation of the Arabian Peninsula over the last 2 or 3 millennia has caused most of the local springs to also dry up, Khor Karfat still enjoys the largest permanent flow of fresh water of any site on this coastline. In addition, there is extensive evidence that many springs, now dry, once existed all around the base of the cliffs surrounding the site. The seventh criteria, this is on page 386, when viewed from the east end of the beach, the mountain terminus of the plateau stands like a large domed mountain overlooking the west end of the beach, meeting quite easily Nephi's description of a mountain or mount where he retired for prayer. The eighth point, this same mount rises up out of the sea with several 200-foot-high cliffs. The earliest ruins indicate that at least one small pre-Christian group actually lived within a few yards of these cliffs. During high tide, the waves smash viciously against the cliffs and rocks below, making a most suitable place for murderously minded men to dispose of an annoying brother. The ninth situation, the text does not specify whether Nephi used copper or iron for his tools, but only ore. The enormous copper deposits of Oman have been exploited for millennia, and these are noted in records dating to the time of Abraham as the source of copper sold in Ebla, that is, in Syria. However, the ancient copper mines are in the northern half of Oman, some distance from Dhofar. Iron would make far better tools for woodworking, but ancient iron mining is not documented in this region. Nephi may have needed as much as 50 to 100 pounds of iron to make tools for his crew. Specular hematite is the form of iron most commonly used in the primitive smelting procedures, and stores of specular hematite have been reported on the Merbot Plain, just a few days' hike to the east of Khor Karfat. Recent geological surveys show that this and other forms of iron ore were available even closer to the site, making Nephi's account of being shown by the Lord where to find ore perfectly plausible in Khor Karfat. There really was ore available. Chert, which is a form of flint that can be struck together to start a fire, is available on the surface in enormous quantities throughout the large Wadi Sheikh region, so he certainly could use fire. The evidence that the 11th point, that was the 10th point, the flint. The 11th point is the evidence that the Khor Karfat area was occupied, at least intermittently, is clear. The 12th point, this coast of the Indian Ocean is most well suited to sailing. Winds are seasonal, but they invite fall sailing to the east. While it would have been impossible for Joseph Smith or his contemporaries to know that southern Arabia was home to mariners and shipbuilders, we now realize that the ancient Omani were world leaders in these professions for millennia. So what's the conclusion? Critics of the Book of Mormon, who believe that Joseph Smith or a contemporary author created the story of Lehi out of his own imagination, they have much to explain. How did Joseph Smith know that Lehi's party had to follow an inland route to reach southern Arabia? How did he know that the direction should shift from south by southeast to east at a place bearing the Semitic name Nahum, which means mourning or consolation, incidentally? How did he know that this was the appropriate place for the burial of an important person like Ishmael? How did he know that a group traveling due east from Nahum would meet the sea at a uniquely fertile and hospitable spot that was suitable for shipbuilding and launching a ship? How did he know that Oman had ample resources for shipbuilding and sailing, and that there were mountains and cliffs on the seashore itself? Even you said it's only desert. Even you scoffed at that. You don't know anything about Arabia either, and it's 2008. And there have been dozens of expeditions there already, and we've been publishing about it for a decade, and you're apparently unfamiliar with it. The simplest and most reasonable explanation is that Joseph Smith and his contemporaries simply did not know these things. No, they didn't. You know why? Because it's an authentic, ancient travelogue account of people who really did go through the Arabian desert on the Frankincense Trail in a south-southeast direction to Nahum, and then turned due east, went to the coast, found the timber to build their ship, they built their ship, got in the ocean, and sailed across. That's seriously plausible. We actually have a spot that matches every single criteria. Now, I'm going to show you some pictures of some stuff that I have also, as well as some updated studies showing even better details. And it's absolutely impressive that as of 2008, you can't accept the Book of Mormon on basis of criticisms made in Joseph Smith's day, and yet every single feature has been discovered. Every weird anomaly, ridiculous idea based on our Western thinking about Arabia, the broken bow, hunting in the mountains, finding food, going east, so on and so forth, building ships. Every single feature has been discovered now. In the proper time, in the proper place, in the proper direction, and with the proper tools and the proper culture. Nothing is contradicted in these expeditions with what the Book of Mormon says. And nothing is left out in every single one of the criteria the Book of Mormon mentions as a real occurrence and a travelogue as these people experienced this desert. So, my question to you is, how do you explain this? Give me your best shot, dude. I have nowhere yet near started. Wait till I show you the pictures.